All right, ooh, there's definitely a bit of a delay over there. Good gracious. Anyway, good morning. Good morning. Good to see you all. It's actually technically it's the afternoon, but there's Shadowtronics popping on in there. There's why is that? I got a huge delay. Man, the FTL is diabolical this morning. Okay, let me just refresh that window, but there we go. So Skip Donahue has been playing some XCOM 2. XCOM is a great game, great series. Great series. And I need to go pick up, actually I need to open up that Gears Tactics. Yeah, that's kind of like XCOM meets Gears of War. Except I gotta do it in the morning where it's nice and cool in this here little den. So yeah, that's gonna be a game to look forward to. Anyway, so first of all, thank you in advance for all of the hosts that I know y'all are gonna be dropping. And I saw some of them I actually already did with a auto host, including from what was it, Lady Death there, Kate, Shadowtronics, Dragon God, BWH, Skate Park Jimmy, good lord, and Lady Death. That is, and JBJ Blaze. All of those auto hosts. There's the timer on the on Mix's auto host bot. It's kind of weird like that. It's just all of them just all at once, just boom. Not quite sure how that works, but there we go. I'll take them. So for those who might be new to the stream, hi there. I read books. That's what I do here on Mixer. I didn't change my scene over. That's what the problem is. One second. Too many buttons. Too many buttons going on. Anyway, hi there. I'm Stephen J. Carrington. What do? I read books. That's right. I read them to you. Our main stream is over here on a Mixer, mixer.com/CarringtonTV. And for right now, my book club, our book club, I restream it out to YouTube and out to Twitch and out to Periscope, just because yeah, you know, I've explained it before, you know, the whole Rona thing. We're just getting some extra entertainment out there into the homes and phones of those who maybe need a little more escapist entertainment now that they kind of staying home, you know, the way things are. So but our mainstream, yeah, come join us on Mixer, and we'll be doing movie night here later tonight. We're going to be watching Frank Capra's Meet John Doe with Gary Cooper and Barbara Stanwyck. It's going to be a fun movie to watch. I have no idea what it's about. I know they kind of did a pseudo kind of remake with it with was it Brad Pitt? I think Meet Joe Black. I think it was. I think there was a remake. Look, in my Sunday dress. Oh, you haven't seen me in a Sunday dress. That's for sure. All right. Anyway, but today we're going to be reading part one of a two-parter, Phantoms of Reality by Ray Cummings. And then we'll probably have time to squeeze in some actual like short stories. And then we get to take a little break, and we're going to come back with movie night and just some gaming in general. It's going to be fun. Good. You? Oh yeah, Rose is saying have a great week. That is going to help make a week great. I know that much. Thank you. I like that. Indeed. Well, thank you, Rose. You know, those embers, like the past, I'd say the past 3 weeks now. That and just channel subscriptions have just been crazy. It's very yeah. I'm very grateful. Thank you for that. Oh, is that Lizard King has joined us? Very good. Did I miss Kat coming in? Kate? I don't know. Anyway, Lizard King's here, so we can start now. Now that Lizard King's here, we can get on with it. Yeah. Anthony Hopkins is a legend. Indeed he is. Indeed he is. Very good actor. Very good. Alrighty. We are loved. I'm just very blessed to have just a wonderful group of people who like to I don't know, to listen to me ramble on. I guess that's all I do. Flap my gums. But let's do it. Let's get on with it. You came here to hear a book read, right? So yeah, it's almost 1:15. Let's take a little look. That's not it. Oh, by the way, I don't know yet what we are reading tomorrow. I don't know yet. So, I think chapter... There we go. There we go. Phantoms of Reality. That's the name of the story that we're reading. There we go. Yeah, it's going to be good. It gonna be good. Okay, let me lower some windows that I don't need. There we go. I think I got it. We got it. There we go. So let's get started. Let's get started. I hit the wrong thing again. Kindle. There we go. Kindle. The office room faded. I was lying on another floor. New walls sprang around me. Phantoms of Reality. So I guess that's the little text which accompanies the illustration there. It's kind of some kind of like castle-ish kind of looking place there with some transparent kind of ghostly-looking figures. In the middle there, he's wearing a big old cape. All right, okay, I know. Well, let's see what's on. Red Sensua's knife came up dripping, and the two adventurers knew that chaos and bloody revolution had been unleashed in that shadowy kingdom of the fourth dimension. Okay, a little tagline there. I like that one. All right. When I was some 15 years old, I once made the remark, "Why, that's impossible." The man to whom I spoke was a scientist. He replied gently, "My boy, when you are growing older and wiser, you will realize that nothing is impossible." Somehow that statement stayed with me. In our swift-moving, wonderful world, I have seen it proven many times. They once thought it impossible to tell what lay across the broad, unknown Atlantic Ocean. They thought the vault of the heavens revolved around the earth. It was impossible for it to do anything else because they could see it revolve. It was impossible, too, for anything to be alive and yet be so small that one might not see it. But the microscope proved the contrary. Or again, to talk beyond the normal range of the human voice was impossible, until the telephone came to show how simply and easily it might be done. I never forgot that physician's remark, and it was repeated to me some 10 years later by my friend Captain Derek Mason on that memorable June night of 1929. My name is Charles Wilson. I was 25 that June of 1929. Although I had lived all my adult life in New York City, I had no relatives there and few friends. I forgot to mention, if you do feel a need to share the stream with your friends, there are convenient buttons on the window there. Share it to your friends on Twitter, on Facebook. Let them know what you listen to. Yeah, the more the merrier, right? I had known Captain Mason for several years. Like myself, he seemed one who walked alone in life. He was an English gentleman, perhaps 30 years old. He had been stationed in the Bermudas, I understood, though he seldom spoke of it. I always felt that I had never seen so attractive a figure of a man as this Derek Mason. An English aristocrat, he was, straight and tall and dark, and rather rakish, with a military swagger. He affected a small black moustache. A handsome, debonair fellow, with an easy grace of manner. A modern D'Artagnan. In an earlier, less civilized age, he would have been expert with sword and stick, I could not doubt. A man who could capture the hearts of women with a look. He had not always been to me a romantic figure, and a mystery that seemed to shroud him made him no less so. A friendship had sprung up between Derek Mason and me, perhaps because we were such opposite types. I am an American, of medium height and medium build, ruddy with sandy hair. Derek Mason was as meticulous of his clothes, his swagger uniforms, as the most perfect Beau Brummel. Not so myself. I am careless of dress and speech. I had not seen Derek Mason for at least a month, when one June afternoon a note came from him. I went to his apartment at 8 o'clock the same evening. Even about his home there seemed a mystery. He lived alone with one manservant. He had taken quarters in a high-class bachelor apartment building near Lower Fifth Avenue, at the edge of Greenwich Village. All of which no doubt was rational enough, but in this building he had chosen the lower apartment at the ground floor level. It adjoined the cellar. It was built for the janitor, but Derek had taken it and fixed it up in luxurious fashion. Near it, in a corner of the cellar, he had boarded off a square space into a room. I understood vaguely that it was a chemical laboratory. He had never discussed it, nor had I ever been shown inside it. Unusual, mysterious enough, and that a captain of the British military should be an experimental scientist was even more unusual. Yet I had always believed that for a year or two Derek had been engaged in some sort of chemical or physical experiment. With all his military swagger, he had the precise, careful mode of thought characteristic of the man of scientific mind. Let's see, where are the, yeah, I see my one. Let me restart it. Yeah, my character's not even moving. Let's close that. 1 second. Well, that's unusual. Get back to our story in just 1 second. Excuse me. Whoop, and the microphone fell down. Oh, there we go. Yeah, that's weird. And let's see if they show up now. And if not, then I don't know what to tell you. I'll have to take a look at it later. Do. And don't know. That's really weird. I don't know. I can see them on the actual overlay, on the actual main overlay. Maybe it got moved in layers. There's pixel chat. There's stream avatars. Off, on. No, it's above the Kindle. You know, I don't know. I don't know why it's not showing up, because it is working. I can see it in the little side window. So okay, gonna have to do without it, I guess, for today. That's okay though. It's okay. I recall that when I got his note with its few sentences bidding me come to see him, I had a premonition that it marked the beginning of something strange, as though the portals of a mystery were opening to me. Nothing is impossible. Nevertheless, I record these events into which I was plunged that June evening with a very natural reluctance. I expect no credibility. If this were the year 2000, my narrative doubtless would be tame enough, yet in 1929 it can only be called a fantasy. Let it go at that. The fantasy of today is the sober truth of tomorrow, and by the day after, it is a mere platitude. Our world moves swiftly. Good morning, Mr. Galen. Derek received me in his living room. He admitted me himself. He told me that his manservant was out. It was a small room, with leather-covered easy chairs, rugs on its hardwood floor, and sober brown portieres at its door and windows. A brown parchment shade shrouded the electrolier on the table. What is an electrolier? A chandelier in which the lights are electrical. Okay. A brown parchment shade shrouded the electrolier on the table. It was the only light in the room. It cast its mellow sheen upon Derek's lean, graceful figure as he flung himself down and produced cigarettes. He said, "Hey, Charlie, I want to talk a little talk with you. I have something to tell you, something to offer you." He held out his lighter to me, with its tiny blue alcohol flame under my cigarette, and I saw that his hand was trembling. Yeah, how was the weekend, Mr. Galen? How was your stream yesterday? But I don't understand what you mean, I protested. He retorted, I'm suggesting that you might be tired of being a clerk in a brokerage office. Tired of this humdrum world that we call civilization. Tired of Wall Street. I am, Derek. Heavens, that's true enough. His eyes held me. He was smiling, half whimsically. His voice was only half serious. Yet I could see, in the smoldering depths of those luminous dark eyes, a deadly seriousness that belied his smiling lips and his gay tone. He interrupted me with, And I offer you a chance for deeds of high adventuring, the romance of danger, of pitting your wits against villainy to make right triumph over wrong, and to win for yourself power and riches, and perhaps a fair lady. Derek, you talk like a swashbuckler of the Middle Ages. I thought he would grin, but he turned suddenly solemn. I'm offering to make you henchman to a king, Charlie. A king of what? Where? He spread his lean brown hands with a gesture. He shrugged. What matter? If you seek adventure, you can find it somewhere. If you feel the lure of romance, it will come to you. I said, a henchman to a king. But still he would not smile. Yes, if I were king. I'm serious, absolutely. In all this world, there's no one who cares a damn about me. Not in this world, but... He checked himself. He went on, You are the same. You have no relatives. No. None that ever think of me. Nor a sweetheart. Or have you? No, I smiled. Not yet. Maybe never. But you are too interested in Wall Street to leave it for the open road? He was sarcastic now. Or do you fear deeds of daring? Do you want to right a great wrong? Rescue an oppressed people? Overturn the tyranny of an evil monarch and put your friend and the girl he loves upon the throne? Or do you want to go down to work as usual in the subway tomorrow morning? Are you afraid that in this process of becoming henchman to a king you may perchance get killed? I matched his caustic tone. Let's hear it, Derek. All right, okay, this is going to be a pretty fast-paced, zany adventure, I think. I think zany might be the word for it. Let me, I'm just going to disconnect that thing again and try to reconnect and see if that helps. Try it again. There we go. Chapter 2. Any questions so far? I think we got it. Oh, Tillable Cat's here. Good morning, Tillable Cat. What's going on? Very nice. The challenge of the unknown. Incredible, impossible. I did not say it, though my thoughts were written on my face, no doubt. Derek said quietly, Difficult to believe, Charlie. Yes, but it happens to be true. The girl I love is not of this world, but she lives nevertheless. I have seen her, talked with her. A slim little thing. Beautiful. He sat staring. This is nothing supernatural, Charlie. Only the ignorant savages of our past call the unknown, the unusual, supernatural. We know better now. I said, this girl... He gestured. As I told you, I have for years been working on the theory that there is another world existing here in this same space with us. The fourth dimension, call it what you like. I have found it, proved its existence, and this girl, her name is Hope, lives in it. Let me tell you about her and her people, shall I? My heart was pounding so that it almost smothered me. Yes, Derek. She lives here, in the space we call New York City. She and her people use this same space at the same time that we use it. A different world from ours, existing here now with us, unseen by us, and we are unseen by them. A different form of matter, Charlie, as tangible to the people of the other realm as we are to our own world. Humans, like ourselves. He paused, but I could find no words to fill the gap, and presently he went on. Hope's world, coexisting here with us, is dependent upon us. They speak what we call English. They shadow us. I murmured, phantoms of reality. Yes, a world very like ours, but primitive, where ours is civilized. He paused again. His eyes were staring past me as though he could see through the walls of the cellar room into great reaches of the unknown. What a strange mixture was this Derek Mason. What a strange compound of the cold reality of the scientist and the fancy of the romantic dreamer. Yet I wonder if that is not what science is. There is no romantic lover gawping at the moon who could have more romance in his soul, or see in the moonlight eyes of his loved one more romance than the scientist finds in the wonders of his laboratory. Derek went on slowly. A primitive world, primitive nation, primitive passions. As I see it now, Charlie, as I know it to be, it seems as though perhaps Hope's world is merely a replica of ours, stripped to the primitive, as though it might be the naked soul of our modern New York, ourselves as we really are, not as we pretend to be. He roused himself from his reverie. Hope's nation is ruled by a king. An emperor, if you like, a monarch, beset with the evils of luxury and ease, and wine and women. He is surrounded by his nobles, the idle aristocracy, by virtue of their birth, proclaiming themselves of too fine a clay to work. The crimson nobles they are called, because they affect crimson cloaks, and their beautiful women, voluptuous, sex-mad, are wont to bedeck themselves in veils and robes of crimson. And there are workers, toilers they call them, oppressed, downtrodden toilers, with hate for the nobles and the king smouldering within them. In France there was such a condition, and the bloody revolution that came of it. It exists here now. Hope was born in the ranks of these toilers, but has risen by her grace and beauty to a position in the court of this graceless monarch. He leaped from his chair and began pacing the room. I sat silent, staring at him. So strange a thing. Impossible? I could not say that. I could only say incredible to me. And as I framed the thought, I knew its incredibility was the very measure of my limited intelligence, my lack of knowledge. The vast unknown of nature, so vast that everything which was real to me, understandable to me, was a mere drop in the ocean of the existing unknown. Don't you understand me now? Derek added vehemently. I'm not talking fantasy, cold reality. I've found a way to transport myself, and you, into this different state of matter, into this other world. I've already made a test. I went there and stayed just a few moments, a night or so ago. It made my heart leap wildly. Good morning, Mr. Jump Jump. What's up? And Ms. Pugh, how are you? It made my heart leap wildly to see Mr. Jump Jump and Pugh come into the chat. He went on. There is chaos there, smoldering revolution, which at any time, tonight perhaps, may burst into conflagration and destroy this wanton ruling class. He laughed heartily, harshly. In Hope's world, the workers are a primitive, ignorant people, superstitious. Like the peons of Mexico, they're all primed and ready to shout for any leader who sets himself up. My chance, our chance. He suddenly stopped his pacing and stood before me. Don't you feel the lure of it, the open road? The road is straight before me, and the red gods call for me. I'm going, Charlie, going tonight, and I want you to go with me. Will you? Would I go? The thing leaped like a menacing shadow risen solidly to confront me. Would I go? Suddenly, there was before me the face of a girl, white, apprehensive. It seemed almost pleading. A face beautiful, with a mouth of parted red lips. A face framed in long, pale, golden hair, with big, staring blue eyes. Wistful eyes, wan with starlight, eyes that seemed to plead. Sup there, car guy? I see you over there on the YouTubes. How you doing, man? I thought, why, this is madness. I was not seeing this face with my eyes. There was nothing, no one here in the room with me but Derek. I knew it. The shadows about us were empty. I was conjuring the face only from Derek's words, making real that which existed only in my imagination. Yet I knew that in another realm, with my thoughts now bridging the gap, the girl was real. Would I go into the unknown? The quest of the unknown, the gauntlet of the unknown, flung down now before me, as it was flung down before the ancient explorers who picked up its challenge and mounted the swaying decks of their little galleons and said, "We'll go and see what lies off there in the unknown." That same lure was on me now. I heard my voice saying, "Why, yes, I guess I'll go, Derek." These chapters are very, very to the point. Brief and to the point. It says a risky Sunday. Hope that's not too risky. Hope it's not too risky. Alrighty. Let's see. I was going to pull up another window, but I forgot which one it was. Well, I can take a little sip of coffee too. So far, so good. We're all with it, right? So far, so good. Oh, and SoCal Aussie is hooking it up with a thing there. Oh, and SoCal Aussie, you can exclamation SC. Yes, indeed you can. Yeah. See how that works. And this is Shadowtron. Wow. Yeah. Boing. Look at him go. I like that. Well, thank you very much. Oh. Aha! There we go. You know, I need to make the text bigger. Text's got to be bigger. Anyway, best behavior, peeps. Shadowtronic's in there, and thank you very much, Mrs. Shadowtronic. Those big old stash of embers. I like them. I do. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Alrighty, let us continue. Chapter 3. Here we go. Yeah, I'll make that text bigger there, SoCal, because yeah, it looked okay on my little preview screen, but yeah, on the big thing, it's not so big. Always watching. Chapter 3. Into the Unknown. We stood in the boarded room, which was Derek's laboratory. Our preparations had been simple. Derek had made them all in advance. There was little left to do. The laboratory was a small room of board walls, board ceiling, and floor. Windowless, with a single door opening into the cellar of the apartment house. Derek had locked the door after us as we entered. He said, "I've sent my manservant away for a week. The people in the house here think I've gone away on a vacation. No one will miss us, Charlie. Not for a time, anyway." No one would miss me, save my employers, and to them I would no doubt be small loss. We had put out the light in Derek's apartment and locked it carefully after us. This journey. I own that I was trembling and frightened, yet a strange eagerness was on me. The cellar room was comfortably furnished, rugs were on its floor. Whatever apparatus of a research laboratory had been here was removed now. But the evidence of it remained. Derek's long search for this secret which now he was about to use. A row of board shelves at one side of the room showed where bottles and chemical apparatus had stood. A box of electrical tools and odds and ends of wire still lay discarded in a corner of the room. There was a tank of running water and gas connections, where no doubt Bunsen burners had been. Derek produced his apparatus. I sat on a small, low couch against the wall and watched him as he stripped himself of his clothes. Around his waist he adjusted a wide, flat, wire-woven belt. A small box was fastened to it in the middle of the back, a wide, flat thing of metal, 1/4 of an inch thick and curved to fit his body. It was a storage battery of the vibratory current he was using. From the battery, tiny threads of wire ran up his back to a wire necklace flat against his throat. Other wires extended down his arms to the wrists, still others down his legs to the ankles. A flat electrode was connected to the top of his head like a helmet. I was reminded, as he stood there, of medical charts of the human body with the arterial system outlined. But when he dressed again and put on his jaunty captain's uniform, only the electrode clamped to his head and the thin wires dangling from it in the back were visible to disclose that there was anything unusual about him. He smiled. He said smilingly, "Don't stare at me like that." I took a grip on myself. This thing was frightening, now that I actually was embarked upon it. Derek had explained to me briefly the workings of his apparatus. A vibratory electronic current, for which as yet he had no name, was stored in the small battery. He said, There's nothing he didn't say that at all. "There's nothing incomprehensible about this, Charlie. It's merely a changing of the vibration rate of the basic substance out of which our bodies are made. Vibration is the governing factor of all states of matter. In its essence, what we call substance is wholly intangible. That is already proven. A vortex, a whirlpool of nothingness that creates a pseudo-substance, which is the only material in the universe. And from this, by vibration, is built the complicated structure of things as we see and feel them to be, all dependent upon vibration. Everything is altered directly as the vibratory rate is changed, from the most tenuous gas to fluids to solids. Throughout all the different states of matter, the only fundamental difference is the rate of vibration." I understood the basic principle of this that he was explaining. That now, when this electronic current, which he had captured and controlled, was applied to our physical body, the vibration rate of every smallest and most minute particle of our physical being was altered. There is so little in the vast scale of natural phenomena of which our human senses are cognizant. Our eyes see the colors of the spectrum, from red to violet, but a vast invisible world of color lies beyond the red of the rainbow. Physicists call it the infrared, and beyond the violet, another realm, the ultraviolet. With sound, it is the same. Our audible range of sound is very small. There are sounds which are too slow. There are sounds with too slow a vibratory rate for us to hear, and others too rapid. The differing vibratory rate from most tenuous gas to most substantial solid is all that we can perceive in this physical world of ours. Yet of the whole, it is so very little. This other realm to which we were now going lay in the higher, more rapid vibratory scale. To us, by comparison, a more tenuous world, a shadow realm. I listened to Derek's words, but my mind was on the practicality of what lay ahead. An explorer, standing upon his ship, may watch his men bending the sails, raising the anchor, but his mind flings out to the journey's end. Good gracious, what? Ember train coming on through, choo-choo. Yeah, like that. Look at that go. That is, ooh. And you know what? It's on a big delay. So I'm seeing it right now on my screen, and it's, boy. I think it's been gone. Thank you, Shadowtronics. King Carrington and the Book Club Realm forever. I like that. That is a crazy animation, that one. I like that. Ember trains. Today is the day of embers. Good gracious. It's Ember Day. National Ember Day, maybe. I don't know. We'll see if we can get some kind of national recognition for that. That would be sweet. That'd be very cool. Very good. So thank you, Shadow Fam. Wow, what a day. Let's see. Jelly buns. Oh no, that's in Discord. It's in the plans, but your sticker maker is not filling. Okay, all right. let us get back to our book. Back to our book. Okay, so they're off to Fantasyland. Fantasyland. We were soon ready. Derek wore his jaunty uniform. I wore my ordinary business suit. A magnetic field would be about us so that in the transition, anything in fairly close contact with our bodies was affected by the current. Derek said, "I will go first, Charlie." But Derek, a fear greater than the trembling I had felt before, leaped at me. Left here alone, with no one on whom to depend. He spoke with a careful casualness, but his eyes were burning me. "Just sit there and watch. When I'm gone, turn on the current as I showed you, and come after me. I'll wait for you." Where?" I stammered. He smiled faintly. "Here, right here. I'm not going away. Not going to move. I'll be here on the couch, waiting for you." Terrifying words. He had lowered the couch, bending out its short legs until the frame of it rested on the board floor. He drew a chair up before it and seated me. He sat down on the couch. He said, Oh, one other thing. Just before you start, put out the light. We can't tell how long it will be before we return." Terrifying words. His right hand was on his left wrist, where the tiny switch was placed. He smiled again. "Good luck to us, Charlie." Good luck to us. The open road, the unknown. I sat there, staring. He was partly in shadow. The room was very silent. Derek lay propped up on one elbow, his hand through the tiny switch. There was a breathless moment. Derek's face was set and white, but no whiter than my own, I was sure. His eyes were fixed on me. I saw him suddenly quiver and twitch a little. I murmured, "Derek." At once he spoke to reassure me. "I'm all right, Charlie. That was just the first feel of it." There was a faint quivering throb in the room, like a tiny, distant dynamo throbbing. The current was surging over Derek. His legs twitched. A moment. The faint throbbing intensified. No louder, but rapid, infinitely more rapid. A tiny throb, an aerial whine, faint as the whirring wings of a hummingbird. It went up the scale, ascending in pitch, until presently it was screaming with an aerial, microscopic voice. But there seemed no change in Derek. His uniform was glowing a trifle, that was all. His face was composed now. He smiled, but did not speak. His eyes roved away from me, as though now he were seeing things that I could not see. Another moment. No change. Here's the movie. He's going to link it real fast. Meet John Doe. Another moment. No change. Why, what was this? I blinked, gasped. There was a change. My gaze was fastened upon Derek's white face. White? It was more than white now. A silver sheen seemed to be coming to his skin. I think no more than a minute had passed. His face was glowing, shimmering. A transparent look was coming to it, a thinness, a sudden unsubstantiality. He dropped his elbow and lay on the couch, stretched at full length at my feet. His eyes were staring. And suddenly I realized that the face that held those staring eyes was erased. A shimmering apparition of Derek was stretched here before me. I could see through it now. Beneath the shimmering, blurred outlines of his body, I could see the solid folds of the couch cover. A ghost of Derek here. An apparition, fading, dissipating. The gossamer outline of him, imponderable, intangible. I leaped to my feet, staring down over him. Derek! The shape of him did not move. Every instant it was more vaporous, more unreal. I thought, he's gone. No, he was still there, a white mist of his form on the couch, melting, dissipating in the light like a fog before sunshine. A wisp of it left, like a breath. And then there was nothing. Ooh, spooky stuff, spooky stuff. We'll get on with this in just a second. Okay, making sure I haven't missed any chat. Yeah, so tonight's movie, once again in the public domain because they filled out their paperwork wrong. Produced by Frank Capra. I don't think he directed it, but it's still, I guess technically, he still put his name on it because he was a big name. Frank Capra's Meet John Doe with Gary Cooper and Barbara Stanwyck. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, indeed. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. We'll get back to our story. It's going to be at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And then we'll be some gaming after that. But not too late because we got the regular book club coming up tomorrow. Regular book club. So I don't know what's going on with that there. Okay, just making sure I haven't missed any chat on the other things there. Okay. Okay, let's. I think we're good. I think we are good. Just refreshing my window here. That's what I'm doing. Very good. Okay, and forward. Lost my chat window. There it is. Okay, got that. There we go. I sat on the couch. I had put out the light. Around me, the room was black. My fingers found the small switch at my wrist. I pressed it across its tiny arc. The first shock was slight, but infinitely strange. A shuddering, twitching sensation ran all over me. It made my head reel, swept a wave of nausea over me, a giddiness, a feeling that I was falling through darkness. I lay on the couch, bracing myself. The current was winding up its tiny scale. I could feel it now, a tiny throbbing, communicating itself to my physical being. And then, in a moment, I realized that my body was throbbing. The vibration of the current was communicating itself to the most minute cells of my body, an indescribable tiny quivering within me. Strange, frightening, sickening at first. But the sickness passed, and in a moment I found it almost pleasant. I could see nothing. The room was wholly dark. I lay on my side on the couch, my eyes staring into the blackness around me. I could hear the humming of the current, and then it seemed to fade. Abruptly, I felt a sense of lightness, my body, lying on the couch, pressed less heavily. I gripped my arm. I was solid, substantial as before. I touched the couch. It was the couch which was changing, not I. The couch cover queerly seemed to melt under my hand. The sense of my own lightness grew upon me. A lightness, a freedom, pressed me, as though chains and shackles which all my life had encompassed me were falling away. A wild, queer freedom. I wondered where Derek was. Had I arrived in the other realm? Was he here? I had no idea how much time had passed. A minute or two, perhaps. Or was I still in Derek's laboratory? The darkness was as solid, impenetrable as ever. No, not quite dark. I saw something now, a glowing, misty outline around me. Then I saw it was not the new, unknown realm, but still Derek's room, a shadowy, spectral room, and the light, which dimly illumined it, was from outside. I lay, puzzling, my own situation forgotten for the moment. The light came from overhead, in another room of the apartment house. I stared. All around me now was a dim vista of distance and vague, blurred, misty outlines of the apartment building above me. The shadowy world I had left now lay bare. There was a moment when I thought I could see far away, across a spectral city street. The shadows of the great city were around me. They glowed, and then were gone. A hand gripped my arm in a solid grip. Derek's voice sounded. "Are you all right?" "Yes," I murmured. The couch had faded. I was conscious that I had floated or drifted down a few inches to a new level. The level of the cellar floor beneath the couch. Cellar floor. It was not that now. Yet there was something solid here, a solid ground, and I was lying upon it with Derek sitting beside me. I murmured again, "Yes, I'm all right." My groping hand felt the ground. It was soil, with a growth of vegetation like a grass sward on it. Were we outdoors? It suddenly seemed so. I could feel soft, warm air on my face and had a sense of open distance around me. A light was growing, a vague, diffused light, as though day was swiftly coming upon us. I felt Derek fumbling at my wrist. "That's all, Charlie." There was a slight shock. Derek was pulling me up beside him. I found myself on my feet with light around me. I stood wavering, gripping Derek. It was as though I had closed my eyes, and now they were suddenly open. I was aware of daylight, color, and movement. A world of normality here, normal to me now because I was part of it. The realm of the unknown. What's up there, Chris Alberti? Good to see you, my man. Hope you're practicing hard for that Pac-Man. Chapter 4. Hope, I came. Oh, no, that's Hope, I came. Okay, Hope's the name of the girl. That apparently the British aristocrat found. Very good. I think I was first conscious of a queer calmness which had settled upon me, as though now I had withdrawn contact with the turmoil of our world. Something was gone, and in its place came a calmness, but that was a mere transition. It had passed in a moment. I stood trembling with eagerness, as I know Derek was trembling. A radiant effulgence of light was around us, clarifying, growing. There was ground beneath our feet and sky overhead. A rational landscape, strangely familiar. A physical world like my own, but, it seemed, with a new glory upon it. Nature, calmly serene. I had thought we were standing in daylight. I saw now it was bright starlight. An evening such as the evening we had just left in our own world. The starlight showed everything clearly. I could see a fair distance. We stood at the top of a slight rise. I saw gentle, slightly undulating country. A brook nearby wound through a grove of trees and lost itself. Suddenly, with a shock, I realized how familiar this was. We stood facing what in New York City we call West. The contour of this land was familiar enough for me to identify it. A mile or so ahead lay a river. It shimmered in its own valley, with cliffs on its further side. Near at hand, the open country was dotted with trees and checkered with round patches of cultivated fields, and there were occasional habitations, low oval houses of green thatch. The faint flush of a recent sunset lay upon the landscape, mingled with the starlight. A road, a white ribbon in the starlight, wound over the countryside toward the river. Animals, strange of aspect, were slowly dragging carts. There were distant figures working in the fields. A city lay ahead of us, set along this nearer bank of the river. A city? It seemed a primitive village. All was primitive, as though here might be some lost Indian tribe of our early ages. The people were picturesque, the field workers garbed in vivid colors, the flat little carts slow-moving with broad-horned oxen. This quiet village drowsing beside the calm flowing river, seemed all very normal. I could fancy that it was just after sundown of a quiet workday. There was a faint flush of pink upon everything. The glory of the sun just set. And as though to further my fancy, in the village by the river, like an angelus, a faint-toned bell was chiming. Terry Pratchett's The Long Earth. I'm not familiar with that one. We stood for a moment, gazing silently. I felt wholly normal. A warm, pleasant wind fanned my hot face. The sense of lightness was gone. This was normality to me. Derek murmured, Hope was to meet me here. And then we both saw her. She was coming toward us along the road, a slight girlish figure, clothed in queerly vivid garments, a short jacket of blue cloth with wide flowing sleeves, knee-length pantaloons of red with tassels dangling from them, and a wide red sash about her waist. Pale golden hair was piled in a coil upon her head. She was coming toward us along the edge of the road from the direction of the city. She was only a few 100 feet from us when we first saw her, coming swiftly, furtively it seemed. A low pike fence bordered the road. She seemed to be shielding herself in the shadows beside it. We stood waiting in the starlight. The nearest figures in the field and on the road were too far away to notice us. The girl advanced. Her white arm went up in a gesture, and Derek answered. She left the road, crossing the field toward us. As she came closer, I saw how very beautiful she was, a girl of 18, perhaps, a fantastic little figure with her vivid garments. The starlight illumined her white face, anxious, apprehensive, but eager. Derek, he said. Hope, I came. I stood silently watching. Derek's arms went out, and the girl, with a little cry, came running forward and threw herself into them. Chapter 5. Intrigue. Intrigue. Yeah. So far, so good. All right, let's going to take a little sip of coffee here just for a minute. So we're all straight with what's happened so far, right? It's got straight into it. They've already done their cross-dimensional travel. They're all having a good time. So far, so good. Oh, yeah. That is good. Feeding cats AFK can hear. Okay, that's cool. It's all good. Let's I'm just gonna take a peek at a thing here. Alrighty. Why? I don't know why. Don't know why. Okay. Am I in time, Hope? Yes, but the festival is tonight, in an hour or two. Oh, Derek, if the king holds this festival, the toilers will revolt. They won't stand it. Tonight. It mustn't be held tonight. It doesn't give me time to plan. I stood listening to their vehement, half-whispered words. For a moment or two, absorbed, they ignored me. The king will make his choice tonight, Derek. He has announced it. Blanca or Censure for his queen, and if he chooses the Crimson Censure... She stammered, then she went on. If he does, there will be bloodshed. The toilers are waiting just to learn his choice. Derek exclaimed, but tonight is too soon. I've got to plan. Hope, where does Robar stand in this? Strange intrigue. I pieced it together now, from their words and from what presently they briefly told me. A festival was about to be held, an orgy of feasting and merrymaking, of music and dancing. And during it, this young King Leonto was to choose his queen. There were two possibilities. The Crimson Censure, a profligate, debauched woman who, as queen, would further oppress the workers, and Blanca, a white beauty, risen from the toilers to be a favorite at the court. Hope was her handmaiden. If Blanca were chosen, the toilers would be appeased. She was one of them. She would lead this king from his profligate ways, would win from him justice for the workers, profligate, recklessly extravagant or wasteful in the use of resources, licentious, dissolute. All right. But Derek and Hope both, okay, so the king is very easily swayed, apparently. So he's either going to marry someone who's going to crush the workers under their thumb, or marry the other woman who's going to reform him. All right. Doesn't seem to have a mind of his own, I guess. But Derek and Hope both knew that the pure and gentle Blanca would never be the king's choice. And tonight the toilers would definitely know it, and the smoldering revolt would burst into flame. And then there was this Robar. Derek said, "He's the king's henchman, Charlie." I stood here in the starlight, listening to them. This strange primitive realm. There were no modern weapons here. We had brought none. The current used in our transition would have exploded the cartridges of a revolver. I had a dirk, which Hope now gave me, and that was all. Primitive intrigue. I envisaged this chaotic nation, with its toilers ignorant as the oppressed Mexican peons at their worst, striving to better themselves, yet not knowing how, ready to shout for any leader who might with vainglorious words set himself up as a patriot. This Robar, perhaps, was planning to do just that. And so was Derek. He said, "Hope, if you could persuade the king to postpone the festival, if Blanca would help persuade him, just until tomorrow night." "Oh, I can try, Derek, but the festival is planned for an hour or two from now." "Where is the king?" "In his palace near the festival gardens." She gestured to the south. My mind went back to New York City. This hillock where we were standing in the starlight beside a tree was in my world about 5th Avenue and 16th Street. The King's Palace, the Festival Gardens, stood down at the Battery where the rivers met in the broad water of the harbor. Derek was saying, "We haven't much time. Can you get us to the palace?" "Yes, I have a cart down there on the road." "And the cloaks for Charlie and me?" "Yes." "Good," said Derek. "We'll go with you. It's a long chance. He probably won't postpone it. If he does not, we'll be among the audience. And when he chooses the red censure—" She shuddered. "Oh, Derek." And I thought I heard her whisper, "Oh, Alexandre." And I saw his finger go to his lips. His arm went around her. She huddled, small as a child, against his tall, muscular body. He said gently, "Don't be afraid, little Hope." His face was grim. His eyes were gleaming. I saw him suddenly as an instinctive military adventurer, an anachronism in our modern New York City, born in a wrong age, but here in this primitive realm, he was at home. I plucked at him. How can we dare plunge into this thing? Hidden with cloaks, yes, but you talk of leading these toilers." He cast Hope away and confronted me. "I can do it. You'll see, Charlie." He was very strangely smiling. "You'll see, but I don't want to come into the open right away. Not tonight, but if we can only postpone this accursed festival." We had been talking perhaps 5 minutes. We were ready now to start away. Derek said, "Whatever comes, Charlie, I want you to take care of Hope. Guard her for me, will you?" I said, "Yes, I will try to." Hope smiled as she held out her hand to me. "I will not be afraid with Derek's friend." Her English was of different intonation from our own, but it was her native language, I could not doubt. I took her cold, slightly trembling hand. "Thank you, Hope." Her eyes were misty with starlight. Tender eyes, but the tenderness was not for me. "Yes," I repeated. "You can depend on me, Derek." We left the hillock. A food-laden cart came along the road. The driver, a boy vivid in jacket and wide trousers of red and blue, bravely worn but tattered, ran alongside, guiding the oxen. When they had passed, we followed, and presently we came to the cloaks Hope had hidden. Derek and I donned them. They were long crimson cloaks with hoods. Hope said, "Many are gathering for the festival shrouded like that. You will not be noticed now." Further along the road we reached a little eminence. I saw the river ahead of us and a river behind us, and a few miles to the south an open spread of waters where the rivers joined. Familiar contours, the Hudson River, the East River, and down at the end of the island, New York Harbor. Hope gestured that way. "The King's Palace—" oh, this is Hope. "The King's Palace is there." We were soon passing occasional houses, primitive thatched dwellings. I saw inside one. Workers were seated over their frugal evening meal. Always the same vivid garments, jaunty but tattered. We passed one old fellow in a field working late in the starlight, a man bent with age, but still a tiller of the soil. Hope waved to him, and he responded, but the look he gave us as we hurried by, shrouded in our crimson cloaks, was sullenly hostile. We came to an open market. It stood by the roadside. An ox with shaggy coat and spreading horns was fastened to the fence. It was a small cart with small roller-like wheels. Seats were in it and a vivid canopy over it. We climbed in and rumbled away. And this starlit road in our own world was Broadway. We were presently passing close to the river's edge. This quiet, peaceful, starlit river. Why, in our world it was massed with docks. Great ocean liners, huge funneled with storied decks, lay here. Under this river, tunnels with endless passing vehicles, tubes with speeding trains crowded with people. The reality here was so different. Behind us, what seemed an upper city was strung along the river. Ahead of us also there were streets and houses, the city of the workers. A bell was tolling. Along all the roads now we could see the moving yellow spots of lights on the holiday carts headed for the festival. And there were spots of yellow torchlight from boats on the river. We soon were entering the city streets. Narrow dirt streets they were, with primitive shacks to the sides. Women came to the doorways to stare at our little cart rumbling hastily past. I was conscious of my crimson cloak and conscious of the sullen glances of hate which were flung at it from every side here in this squalid, forlorn section where the workers lived. Along every street now the carts were passing, converging to the south. They were filled, most of them, with young men and girls, all in gaudy costumes. Some of them, like ourselves, were shrouded in crimson cloaks. The carts occasionally were piled with flowers. As one larger than us and moving faster rumbled by, a girl in it stood up and pelted me with blossoms. She wore a crimson robe, but it had fallen from her shoulders. I caught a glimpse of her face, framed in flowing dark hair, and of eyes with laughter in them, mocking me, alluring. We came at last to the end of the island. There seemed to be 1,000 or more people arriving, or here already. The tip of the island had an esplanade with a broad canopy behind it. Burning torches of wood gave flames of yellow, red, and blue fire. A throng of gay young people promenaded the walk, watching the arriving boats. And here, behind the walk at the water's edge, was a garden of trees and lawn, shrubs and beds of tall, vivid flowers. Nooks were here to shelter lovers. Pools of water glinted red and green with the reflected torchlight. In one of the pools I saw a group of girls bathing, sportive as dolphins. To one side, at a little distance up the river, banked against the water, was a broad, low building, the palace of the king. About it were broad gardens, with shrubs and flowers. The whole was surrounded by a high metal fence, spiked on top. The main gate was near at hand. We left our cart. Close to the gate was a guard standing alert, a jaunty fellow in leather pantaloons and leather jacket with a spiked helmet, and in his hand a huge, sharp-pointed lance. The gardens of the palace, what we could see of them, seemed empty. None but the favored might enter here. But as I climbed from the cart, I got the impression that just inside the fence a figure was lurking. It started away as we approached the gate. The guard had not seen it. The drab figure of a man in what seemed to be dripping garments, as though perhaps he had swum in from the water. And Derek saw him. He muttered, "They're everywhere." Hope led us to the gate. The guard recognized her. At her imperious gesture he stood aside. We passed within. I saw the palace now as a long, winged structure of timber and stone, with a high tower at the end of one wing. The building fronted the river, but here on the garden side there was a broad doorway up an incline, 20 feet up and over a small bridge, spanning what seemed a dry moat. Beyond it, a small platform, then an oval archway, the main entrance to the building. Derek and I, shrouded in our crimson cloaks with hoods covering us to the eyes, followed Hope into the palace. Yeah. In they sneak. Yeah, they're getting there. So far, so good. Okay. It's not part of the Discworld series. Yeah, he wrote a lot of stuff there. He was a very prolific writer. Okay, we'll go. What? Oh my lord. Oh boy. Okay, that's Sparks. I was like, whoa. There we go. And Rose. Oh, Rose is back. What? You must part, Mr. C. Oh, Rose is out of here. Okay, you have a great day. Have a great day, Rose. And yeah, well, tomorrow's a new day, Monday. It's going to be an awesome start of the week. Have a great night. Thank you for those embers. But yeah, make your Monday amazing, because it will be great. Ghost Rider says my voice is great for stories. Well, thank you, I appreciate that. We're going to pick up here, chapter 6. There we go. Just needed a little break for a bit of coffee. I think we're good to continue. What? Good Lord, how many embers does that fellow have? That's 1,000. 1,000 embers coming out. Number one. This channel is number one. But not because of me. It's because of all the amazing people who show up in it. That's why. This channel's nothing. Nothing without the amazing people that come in and spend a little time with each other. Chit-chatting, socializing. Chilling out to a little bit of story time, having a good time. Okay, and thank you, Shadow. The Shadow fam is, boy, today's been a big day. Thank you. Chapter 6. The King's Henchman. The long room was bathed in colored lights. There was an ornate tiled floor. Barbaric draperies of heavy fabric shrouded the archways and windows. It was a totally barbaric apartment. It might have been the audience chamber of some fabled Eastern prince of our early ages, yet not quite that either. There was a primitive modernity here. Good Lord, and Tillable Cat got the old wavy arms going. Wavy arms. All hail the Shadow fam, says Tillable Cat. Very good call. That is, what is it? That's Shadowtronics, Mrs. Shadowtronics. the shadow pops and the shadow pups. Yeah, all of them. Yeah. Very well. Well, thank you very much, there, Tillable Cat. I will look after those embers right there while saying, "Hail the Shadow Fam." Indeed. That is a really, really good animated sticker, by the way, with all the wavy arms here. All right. There was a primitive modernity here. I could not define it, could not tell why I felt this strangeness. Perhaps it was the aspect of the people. The room was crowded with men and gay, laughing girls in fancy dress costumes. Half of them, at least, were shrouded in crimson cloaks, but most of the hoods were back. They moved about, laughing and talking, evidently waiting for the time to come for them to go to the festival. We pushed our way through them. Derek murmured, "Keep your hood up, Charlie." A girl plucked at me. "Oh, handsome man, let me see." She thrust her painted lips up to mine as though daring me to kiss them. Hope shoved her away. Her parted cloak showed her white, beautiful body with the dark tresses of her hair shrouding it. Exotically lovely she was, with primitive, unrestrained passions, typical of the land in which she lived. "This way," whispered Hope. "Keep close together. Do not speak." We moved forward and stood quietly against the wall of the room where great curtains hid us partly from view. Under a canopy, at a table, on a raised platform near one end of the apartment, sat the youthful monarch. I saw him as a man of perhaps 30. He was in holiday garb, robed in silken hose of red and white, a strangely fashionable doublet, and a close-fitting shirt. Bare-headed, with thick black hair, long to the base of his neck. He sat at the table with a calm dignity, but he relaxed here in the presence of his favorite courtiers. He was evidently in a high good humor this night, giving directions for the staging of the spectacle, dispatching messengers. I stood gazing at him. A very kingly fellow, this. There was something about him, that strange, mingled look of barbarism and modernity. It's up there, filthy god. Unusual name. Throwing down a U. Not so much a yeet. Narcon, what's up? Hope approached him and knelt. Derek and I could hear their voices, although the babble of the crowd went on. "Oh, my little Hope, what is up? Stand up, child," she said. "Your Highness, a message from Blanca." He laughed. "Say no more. I know it already. She does not want this festival. The workers." What a world of sardonic contempt he put into that one word. "The workers will be offended because we've taken pleasure tonight." Bah! But he was still laughing. "Say no more, little Hope. Tell Blanca to dance and sing her best this night. I'm making my choice. Did you know that?" Hope was silent. He repeated, "Did you know that?" "Yes, Your Highness," she murmured. "I choose our queen tonight, child, Blanca or Sensu," he sighed. "Both are very beautiful. Do you know which one I'm going to choose?" "No," she said. "Nor do I, little Hope, nor do I." He dismissed her. "Go now, don't bother me." She parted her lips as though to make another protest, but his eyes suddenly flashed. "I would not have you annoy me again. Do you understand?" She turned away, back toward where Derek and I were lurking. The chattering crowd in the room had paid no attention to Hope, but before she could reach us, a man detached himself from a nearby group and accosted her. A commanding figure he was, I think, quite the largest man in the room, an inch or two taller than Derek at the very least. He wore his red cloak with the hood thrown back upon his wide, heavy shoulders. A bullet head with close-clipped black hair. A man of about the king's age, he had a face of heavy features and flashing dark eyes. A scoundrel adventurer, this king's henchman. Hope said, "What is it, Robar?" "You will join our party, little Hope." He laid a heavy hand on her white arm. His face was turned toward me. I could not miss the gleaming look in his eyes as he regarded her. "No," she said. It seemed that he twitched at her, but she broke away from him. Anger crossed his face, but the desirous look in his eyes remained. "You are very bold, Hope, to spurn me like this." He had lowered his voice as though fearful that the king might hear him. "Let me alone," she said. She darted away from him, but before she joined us, she stood waiting until he turned away. "No use," Hope whispered. "There's nothing we can do here. You heard what the king said, and the festival has already begun." Derek stood a moment, lost in thought. He was gazing across the room to where Robar was standing with a group of girls. He said at last, "Come on, Charlie, we'll watch this festival. This damn fool king will choose the red censure." He shrugged. "There will be chaos." We shoved our way from the room, went out of the main door, and hurried through the gardens of the palace. The red-cloaked figures were leaving the building now for the festival grounds. We waited for a group of them to pass so that we might walk alone. As we neared the gate, passing through the shadows of high-flowered shrubs, a vague feeling that we were being followed shot through me. In a moment there was so much to see that I forgot it, but I held my hand on my dirk and moved closer to Hope. We reached the entrance to the canopy. A group of girls, red-cloaked, were just coming out. They rushed past us. They ran, discarding their cloaks. Their white bodies gleamed under the colored lights as they rushed to the pool and dove. We were just in time. Hope whispered, "The king will be here any moment." Beneath the canopy was a broad arena of seats. A platform, like a stage, was at one end. It was brilliantly illuminated with colored torches held aloft by girls in flowing robes, each standing like a statue with her light held high. The place was crowded. In the gloom of the darkened auditorium, we found seats off to one side, near the open edge of the canopy. We sat, with Hope between us. Derek whispered, "Shakespeare might have staged a play in a fashion like this." A primitive theatrical performance. "Oh, Pato Kev." "Hello, how you doing?" Derek whispered, "Shakespeare might have staged a play in a fashion like this." A primitive theatrical performance. There was no curtain for interlude between what might have been the acts of a vaudeville. The torch girls, like pages, ranged themselves in a line across the front of the stage. They were standing there as we took our seats. The vivid glare of their torches concealed the stage behind them. There was a few moments' wait, then, amid hushed silence, the king with his retinue came in. He sat in a canopied box off to one side. When he was seated, he raised his arm, and the buzz of conversation in the audience began again. Presently the page girls moved aside from the stage. The buzz of the audience was stilted. The performance, destined to end so soon in tragedy, now began. Let me, no, wrong one. Okay, let me just, need to mark that. Boom, there we go. Just going to change scenes for a second. I'm just going to do a quick page count. I think this is the halfway point. I'm pretty sure this is the halfway point. So let me just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 40, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 50, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Okay, that's about the halfway point. Yeah. So we're gonna end right there on that one there, and we'll pick that up again next weekend. So yeah, we're a good 1.5 hours into that story. Another 1.5 hours to go. Phantoms of Reality. Very welcome there, Parokev. I'm glad you're enjoying it. We're not done. We've still got more stories to come. That's as far as we're going with that book, though. I'm pulling up another thing. Can't remember. Oh no, what is? Oh, boy, I'm gonna have to find it the old-fashioned way. What is it? We're gonna do something. We've actually read this one before. It's been a long time, but I just wanted to tell a story about the difficulties of doing the right things. Can be difficult trying to find it. Wow, man, just looking at going through all these books that we've done. Oh, you know, we haven't seen Bee's Knees around in a while. Bee's Knees, they sent us something to read a while back. That's it right there. Oh no, that's not it. That is the author, though. Analog. Yeah, I just need a couple of minutes to find it. Man, I'm finding a Death World. That was a good book. The Inferno, Dante's Inferno. We got that right here. Omni Magazine. Yeah, I forgot about Omni Magazine. That was good. Where is it? Yeah. Oh, yeah. So yeah, and yeah. So for those who might be new to the channel, yeah, we read a lot of stuff. Hey, I think it's in this one here from Brave New Worlds. Is it in this one here? Right here. Boy, no, I had a name wrong too. Okay, yeah. So yeah, for those who might be new to the channel, yeah, we read books. I read about 10, 11, 12 hours every week. That's right. So over 40 hours every month, live book narration right here on Mixer. Monday through Thursday, it's a morning show. We start at about 10 a.m. We start at 10 a.m., go for about 2 to 2.5 hours, and work our way through a novel. We've just finished The Lone Star Ranger by Zane Grey. It's a pretty epic cowboy western. But yeah, we cover all kinds of stuff: science fiction and fantasy, and well, we haven't done any Harlequin romance kind of stuff. But yeah, tons of classics, a lot of classics. So far this year, like the Call of the Wild and the Pulitzer-winning book So Big, and yeah, we do all kinds. Have I ever recorded an audiobook? Not professionally, like you can buy on Audible. No, but I do. But I have done voiceover for film and television, and but yeah, audiobooks is. I'd love to get into that. That'd be cool. Actually, that's actually part of the reason why I started doing this, is to practice working on my, developing that right kind of style, which I could do fluently. Yeah. Jillable Cat says, just say no to Harlequin romance. What? I thought maybe we could start off tomorrow with a bit of bodice ripper material. Yeah, that's everyone's clamoring for that. Clamoring. So anyway, so we're starting like a brand new book tomorrow. Like I said, I still haven't figured out what it's going to be yet. I'm just combing through the list of requests that we've got, because we've got a lot of them. Okay. I'm just going to change our thing here. This is. Okay. Okay, so this is actually the short title. Here we go. We're just going to read this one here. And then this is definitely going to leave you thinking about a few things. It's got a few things to think about. Oh yeah. So Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. I read novels. Sunday we have like today we have a short story Sunday that starts in the afternoons, 2 o'clock Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. And once again I read for about 2 hours there. Then I take a break. Come back at 6 o'clock and we're having a movie night, and then after that I'll be playing some video games or something like that. And that's and during the week, book club in the morning, games at night. I work in between. I almost did her in with Dwayne. I don't think Rose could. I don't think Rose could handle anything more after Buck Dwayne. Won her heart and then some. Yeah. Oh boy. Hey there, word nerder. I like that name. Word nerder. That's what we do here. Hey, Wesley Wolf's here. What's up, Wesley Wolf? How you doing? Okay, let's do it. Okay, so here's this story is probably going to be the last story of the day. Don't worry, we got a bunch more hours of live book narration coming up in the week. Here we go. This is the okay. One second. Okay. Okay, let's do it. Let us do it. Oh, by the way, tonight's movie, by the way, if anyone is going to be coming back for that, I'm going to get the link. It is Frank Capra's Meet John Doe with Gary Cooper and Barbara Stanwyck. There's the link for it there, in case anyone is... oh, did I post it? I don't think it posted. There we go. There we go. That's it right there. Meet John Doe. Meet John Doe. Gary Cooper, Barbara Stanwyck. That's our movie. We'll be starting that at 6 p.m. Pacific. Yeah. Okay, let's do it. Oh, sorry. One more thing before we guys got to take a quick look at a certain page here. One second. I don't know why. There we go. Okay. All right. I like that. Okay. Let us move. Okay. Let's do it. Okay. So this is by Ursula K. Le Guin, who died 2 years ago, I think. Very influential writer. Very influential. And the actual long title of this one is The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas. The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas. Okay. And it gets a little heavy. But it's very good. And it'll leave us thinking, should we, it's not always easy doing the right thing. That's kind of what, I guess, I don't know. Let's get on with it. With a clamor of bells that set the swallows soaring, the festival of summer came to the city Omelas, bright-towered by the sea. The rigging of the boats in harbor sparkled with flags. In the streets between houses with red roofs and painted walls, between old moss-grown gardens and under avenues of trees, past great parks and public buildings, processions moved. Some were decorous. Old people in long, stiff robes of mauve and gray. Grave master workmen. Quiet, merry women carrying their babies and chatting as they walked. In other streets, the music beat faster, a shimmering of gong and tambourine, and the people went dancing. The procession was a dance. Children dodged in and out, their high calls rising like the swallows crossing flights over the music and the singing. All the processions wound towards the north side of the city, where on the great water meadow called the green fields, boys and girls, naked in the bright air, with mud-stained feet and ankles and long, lithe arms, exercised their restive horses before the race. The horses wore no gear at all, but a halter without bit. Their manes were braided with streamers of silver, gold, and green. They flared their nostrils and pranced and boasted to one another. They were vastly excited, the horse being the only animal who has adopted our ceremonies as his own. Far off to the north and west, the mountains stood up, half encircling Omelas on her bay. The air of morning was so clear that the snow still crowning the 18 peaks burned with white gold fire across the miles of sunlit air, under the dark blue of the sky. There was just enough wind to make the banners that marked the racecourse snap and flutter now and then. In the silence of the broad green meadows, one could hear the music winding through the city streets, farther and nearer and ever approaching, a cheerful faint sweetness of the air that from time to time trembled and gathered together and broke out into the great joyous clanging of the bells. Joyous? How is one to tell about joy? How describe the citizens of Omelas? They were not simple folk, you see, though they were happy. But we do not say the words of cheer much any more. All smiles have become archaic. Given a description such as this, one tends to make certain assumptions. Given a description such as this, one tends to look next for the king, mounted on a splendid stallion and surrounded by his noble knights, or perhaps in a golden litter borne by great muscled slaves. But there was no king. They did not use swords or keep slaves. They were not barbarians. I do not know the rules and laws of their society, but I suspect that they were singularly few. As they did without monarchy and slavery, so also they got on without the stock exchange, the advertisement, the secret police, and the bomb. Yet I repeat that these were not simple folk, not dulcet shepherds, noble savages, bland utopians. They were not less complex than us. The trouble is that we have a bad habit, encouraged by pedants and sophisticates, of considering happiness as something rather stupid. Only pain is intellectual, only evil interesting. This is the treason of the artist, a refusal to admit the banality of evil and the terrible boredom of pain. If you can't lick 'em, join 'em. If it hurts, repeat it. But to praise despair is to condemn delight. To embrace violence is to lose hold of everything else. We have almost lost hold. We can no longer describe a happy man, nor make any celebration of joy. How can I tell you about the people of Omelas? They were not naive and happy children, though their children were in fact happy. They were mature intelligent, passionate adults whose lives were not wretched. Oh, miracle, but I wish I could describe it better. I wish I could convince you. Omelas sounds, in my words, like a city in a fairy tale, long ago and far away, once upon a time. Perhaps it would be best if you imagined it as your own fancy bids, assuming it will rise to the occasion, for certainly I cannot suit you all. For instance, how about technology? I think that there would be no cars or helicopters in and above the streets. This follows from the fact that the people of Omelas are happy people. Happiness is based on a just discrimination of what is necessary, what is neither necessary nor destructive, and what is destructive. In the middle category, however, that of the unnecessary but undestructive, that of comfort, luxury, exuberance, etc. They could perfectly well have central heating, subway trains, washing machines, and all kinds of marvelous devices not yet invented here, floating light sources, fuel-less power, a cure for the common cold. Or they could have none of that. It doesn't matter. As you like it. I incline to think that people from towns up and down the coast have been coming in to Omelas during the last days before the festival on very fast little trains and double-decked trams, and that the train station of Omelas is actually the handsomest building in town, though plainer than the magnificent farmer's market. But even granted trains, I fear that Omelas so far strikes some of you as goody-goody. Smiles, bells, parades, horses, blah. If so, please add an orgy. If an orgy would help, don't hesitate. Let us not, however, have temples from which issue beautiful nude priests and priestesses, already half in ecstasy, and ready to copulate with any man or woman, lover or stranger, who desires union with the deep godhead of the blood, although that was my first idea. But really, it would be better not to have any temples in Omelas. At least, not manned temples. Religion? Yes. Clergy? No. Surely the beautiful nudes can just wander about, offering themselves like divine soufflés to the hunger of the needy and the rapture of the flesh. Let them join the processions. Let tambourines be struck above the copulations, and the glory of desire be proclaimed upon the gongs. And, a not unimportant point, let the offspring of these delightful rituals be beloved and looked after by all. One thing I know there is none of in Omelas is guilt. But what else should there be? I thought at first there were no drugs, but that is puritanical. For those who like it, the faint, insistent sweetness of Druze may perfume the ways of the city. Druze which first brings a great lightness and brilliance to the mind and limbs, and then, after some hours, a dreamy languor and wonderful visions, at last, of the very arcana and inmost secrets of the universe, as well as exciting the pleasure of sex beyond all belief. And, It is not habit-forming. For more modest tastes, I think there ought to be beer. What else? What else belongs in this joyous city? The sense of victory, surely, the celebration of courage. But as we did without clergy, let us do without soldiers. The joy built upon successful slaughter is not the right kind of joy. It will not do. It is fearful, and it is trivial. A boundless and generous contentment, a magnanimous triumph felt not against some outer enemy, but in communion with the finest and fairest in the souls of all men everywhere, and the splendor of the world's summer. This is what swells the hearts of the people of Omelas, and the victory they celebrate is that of life. I really don't think many of them need to take Druze. Most of the processions have reached the green fields by now. A marvelous smell of cooking goes forth from the red and blue tents of the provisioners. The faces of small children are amiably sticky. In the benign gray beard of a man, a couple of crumbs of rich pastry are entangled. The youths and girls have mounted their horses and are beginning to group around the starting line of the course. An old woman, small, fat, and laughing, is passing out flowers from a basket, and tall young men wear her flowers in their shining hair. A child of 9 or 10 sits at the edge of the crowd, alone, playing on a wooden flute. People pause to listen, and they smile, but they do not speak to him, for he never ceases playing and never sees them, his dark eyes wholly wrapped in the sweet, thin magic of the tune. He finishes, and slowly lowers his hands, holding the wooden flute. As if that little private silence were the signal, all at once a trumpet sounds from the pavilion near the starting line. Imperious, melancholy, piercing. The horses rear on their slender legs, and some of them neigh in answer. Sober-faced, the young riders stroke the horses' necks and soothe them, whispering, "Quiet, quiet there, my beauty, my hope." They begin to form in rank along the starting line. The crowds along the racehorse are like a field of grass and flowers in the wind. The festival of summer has begun. Do you believe? Do you accept the festival, the city, the joy? No? Then let me describe one more thing. In a basement, under one of the beautiful public buildings of Omelas, or perhaps in the cellar of one of its spacious private homes, there is a room. It has one locked door and no window. A little light seeps in dustily between cracks in the boards, second-hand from a cobwebbed window somewhere across the cellar. In one corner of the little room, a couple of mops with stiff, clotted, foul-smelling heads standing near a rusty bucket. The floor is dirt, a little damp to the touch, as cellar dirt usually is. The room is about 3 paces long and 2 wide. A mere broom closet or disused tool room. In the room, a child is sitting. It could be a boy or a girl. It looks about 6, but actually is nearly 10. It is feeble-minded. Perhaps it was born defective, or perhaps it has become imbecile through fear, malnutrition, and neglect. It picks its nose, and occasionally fumbles vaguely with its toes or genitals, as it sits hunched in the corner farthest from the bucket and 2 mops. It is afraid of the mops. It finds them horrible. It shuts its eyes, but it knows the mops are still standing there, and the door is locked, and nobody will come. The door is always locked, and nobody ever comes, except that sometimes the child has no understanding of time or interval. Sometimes the door rattles terribly and opens, and a person or several people are there. One of them may come in and kick the child to make it stand up. The others never come close, but peer in at it with frightened, disgusted eyes. The food bowl and the water jug are hastily filled. The door is locked. The eyes disappear. The people at the door never say anything, but the child, who has not always lived in the tool room, and can remember sunlight and its mother's voice, sometimes speaks. "I will be good," it says. "Please let me out. I will be good." They never answer. The child used to scream for help at night and cry a good deal, but now it only makes a kind of whining, "Uh-huh, uh-huh," and it speaks less and less often. It is so thin, there are no calves to its legs. Its belly protrudes. It lives on a half bowl of cornmeal and grease a day. It is naked. Its buttocks and thighs are a mass of vested sores, as it sits in its own excrement continually. They all know it is there. All the people of Omelas. Some of them have come to see it. Others are content merely to know it is there. They all know that it has to be there. Some of them understand why, and some do not. But they all understand that their happiness, the beauty of their city, the tenderness of their friendships, the health of their children, the wisdom of their scholars, the skill of their makers, even the abundance of their harvest, and the kindly weathers of their skies, depend wholly on this child's abominable misery. This is usually explained to children when they are between 8 and 12, whenever they seem capable of understanding. And most of those who come to see the child are young people, though often enough an adult comes or comes back to see the child. No matter how well the matter has been explained to them, these young spectators are always shocked and sickened at the sight. They feel disgust, which they had thought themselves superior to. They feel anger, outrage, impotence, despite all the explanations. They would like to do something for the child, but there is nothing they can do. If the child were brought up into the sunlight, out of that vile place, if it were cleaned and fed and comforted, that would be a good thing, indeed. But if it were done, in that day and hour, all the prosperity and beauty and delight of Omelas would wither and be destroyed. Those are the terms. To exchange all the goodness and grace of every life in Omelas for that single small improvement. To throw away the happiness of thousands for the chance of the happiness of one. That would be to let guilt within the walls indeed. The terms are strict and absolute. There may not even be a kind word spoken to the child. Often the young people go home in tears, or in a tearless rage, when they have seen the child and faced this terrible paradox. They may brood over it for weeks or years, but as time goes on, they begin to realize that even if the child could be released, it would not get much good of its freedom. A little vague pleasure of warmth and food, no doubt, but little more. It is too degraded and imbecile to know any real joy. It has been afraid too long ever to be free of fear. Its habits are too uncouth for it to respond to humane treatment. Indeed, after so long it would probably be wretched without walls about it to protect it, and darkness for its eyes, and its own excrement to sit in. Their tears at the bitter injustice dry when they begin to perceive the terrible justice of reality and to accept it. Yet it is their tears and anger, the trying of their generosity and the acceptance of their helplessness, which are perhaps the true source of the splendor of their lives. Theirs is no vapid, irresponsible happiness. They know that they, like the child, are not free. They know compassion. It is the existence of the child, and their knowledge of its existence, that makes possible the nobility of their architecture, the poignancy of their music, the profundity of their science. It is because of the child that they are so gentle with children. They know that if the wretched one were not there sniveling in the dark, the other one The flute player could make no joyful music as the young riders line up in their beauty for the race in the sunlight of the first morning of summer. Now do you believe in them? Are they not more credible? But there is one more thing to tell, and this is quite incredible. At times, one of the adolescent girls or boys who go to see the child does not go home to weep or rage. Does not, in fact, go home at all. Sometimes, also, a man or woman much older falls silent for a day or two, and then leaves home. These people go out into the street and walk down the street alone. They keep walking and walk straight out of the city of Omelas, through the beautiful gates. They keep walking across the farmlands of Omelas. Each one goes alone, youth or girl, man or woman. Night falls. The traveler must pass down village streets, between the houses with yellow-lit windows, and on out into the darkness of the fields. Each alone, they go west or north, towards the mountains. They go on. They leave Omelas. They walk ahead into the darkness, and they do not come back. The place they go towards is a place even less imaginable to most of us than the city of happiness. I cannot describe it at all. It is possible that it does not exist. But they seem to know where they are going, the ones who walk away from Omelas. Yeah. Well, I told you that was going to be a bit of a heavy one, and it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one. And yeah, it's hard to do the right thing. It's hard. It's hard. So yeah, that was and this is the thing. Everyone starts off loving the story. It's just some beautiful town, all the big pageants going on, and it's just like this incredible utopia. And yeah, we find out it's dark secret, and all of a sudden people are like, hang on, this is no good. The whole thing is rotten to its core. Yeah, so you can either keep participating or strike on out to go do the right one. Yeah, it's a very good ending, very good ending. But yeah, yeah. Anyway, that's a bit. It was a bit of a challenging one, shall we say, to end the stream on today. Mr. Kinetic Marker is he's all just like it. He's like yeah. So there, Bear Geek, what's going on? Yeah, it is an allegory. Yeah, you can read a lot of things into it. Yeah, I'm sure you can. Sure you can. But yeah, it is a difficult read. Anyway, that's the ones who walk away from Omelas. Yeah. Ursula K. Le Guin. Yeah, just died 2 years ago. Good stuff. Good stuff. Tillable Cat says burn omelas with fire. Exactly. Oh, Waterdrop. Sorry, Waterdrop. I didn't see you there. Eco Foxtrot over on Twitch. Hey, man. Yeah, it's a very very sad thing. It looks like Skip had to leave early. My apologies there, Skip. I know he's not here right now, and but yeah, it is very very uncomfortable parts in that short story. That's for sure. Very uncomfortable, and yeah, it should make you feel uncomfortable. It should. But that's it. That's the end. I'm going to be back at 6 o'clock, 1 hour and 55 minutes. We're going to be watching Meet John Doe. Meet John Doe. Yeah, Frank Capra's Meet John Doe, Gary Cooper and Barbara Stanwyck. It's going to be pretty good. It's a comedy. Hopefully comedy enough to counter that particular story. Kinetic Marker is still trying to figure out. I don't know what's going on. Hey, and Wesley Wolf. Yeah, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed that story. Actually, I mean, I hope everyone enjoyed that story. I mean, it really, at least me, packs a real punch. Real punch. It's difficult, very difficult to read. Do I need a hug? Well, maybe. Yeah. What's up with all the sad stories? I don't know. It's I don't know. I'm just trying to I'm trying to put in challenging kind of things. I guess I don't know. Yeah, I mean the world is so messed up and crazy right now. It is. Just seeing all these protests and stuff. Would I walk away? I couldn't handle that. No, but being shown something, literally, they bring people in and literally are like, this is the thing which has to happen in order for you to, have the exact opposite for yourself. That would be a terrible decision to make. You'd rescue the child and then burn the town down? Yeah, I think that would, that might have to happen. Hey there, Dark Hunter. What's going on? What about you, Chef J-Tay? It's definitely a quandary, though. I mean, yeah, and I mean, there's all kinds of terrible things going on in our world today, which we kind of I guess we're willing to focus on other things. Otherwise, we might have to do something about it, and that takes courage. Yeah. So go do good things. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, okay. Dark Hunter says we're rad. You missed that story. You keep drawing parallels to real life where you already gave in. Oh boy. Well, you've still got some time. You still got some time left in you. We do. There's a lot of suffering that gets ignored. So anyway, that story can maybe jog us a little, maybe move us toward a little action. That could be good. Lando Gardenier, hooking us up. But anyway, there we go. I need to go. I need to cook myself up a little snack. And I'm going to be back for movie night. It's movie night, and then probably some more Phantasy Star, because that game is crazy. Yeah. You missed the book. Everyone was crying at the end of Atlanta Gardenier. Well, actually, our main story today was Phantoms of Reality. So we're halfway through that. We're going to finish that next week. That's like a fourth dimension thing, parallel New York City in another dimension. And then we ended up with a very thought-provoking short story by Ursula K. Le Guin. Yeah. Well, thank you, Wicked TV. But yeah, it was rough. It was rough. You think Rocket League? Rocket League. But yeah, we got, yeah, so for those who missed this one today, and of course tomorrow we have book club tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, and we'll be starting a brand new novel. Brand new novel. Yeah. Yeah, it was good. Yeah, Ursula K. Le Guin writes some amazing stories, that's for sure. Yeah. The ones who walk away from Omelas. Okay, so I'll see you a bit later tonight. I keep saying it. Thank you once again, by the way, for oh boy, the embers are just out of control this week. It is crazy. Oh yeah. So it looks like level 5's changed his name to level 1. Okay. Shadowtronics, Mrs. Shadowtronic, Mr. Galen, Rose, Tillable Cat, him downstairs. I need to ask how he got that name. Him downstairs. Lady Jigster, and I believe Lady Jigster, did they change their name on... Oh, no, I think Mixon changed their name to something else. Upmost Steve, Dropship Megami. I might have missed some people. Oh, you've never heard of Ursula K. Le Guin? Really? Oh, my lord. Yeah, you need to fix that. Oh, my goodness, you need to fix that. Yes, you do. Hey there, Zeph. What's going on, Zeph? Very good. Oh, Shadowtronics throwing down more. There we go. Treasure chest of wisdom. Of wisdom, they say. Lander Gardenier throwing down the, I believe that's Black History Month stickers. That was February, I believe. Ah. It's all good. It's all good. We could all use a little more Black History. Any day of the week. All right. Doesn't have to be relegated to February. We can have it any time. Oh yeah. If you like science fiction and if you like fantasy, science fiction and fantasy, great. Oh, and by the way, when I was reading some interviews with her, and she was talking about like influences on her. She said she would never have even started writing if not for Lord Dunsany, and that's what got me like looking up who's this Lord Dunsany guy. And so, and then that's how I, we got into that there. Put prizes in the treasure chest? Yeah, we'll figure it out. Look at all them chickens there. I like them. But anyway, that's it. I got to get my break. I got to cook myself some dinner. Then I got to get ready for the movie tonight. It's going to be a great movie. So we'll see you all in 1 hour, 45 minutes. Thank you for tuning in for Book Club. It's been a great time. See ya.